we doing? Great. That's very often. Welcome to your halfway point of your term. Half over after this. All downhill, all smooth sailing from here. All smooth sailing from here.
Oh, really?
On the outhill how was the Uber quiz, aka the exam? Good, decent. I know there were a couple technological issues. Hopefully they all got fixed by repeated emailings back and forth. Hopefully, a couple of you were attaching stuff to me, which is great. I love that. Being in contact with you is good because I know I can fix problems as long as we're communicating, which is wonderful. Favorite question? Okay, least favorite question.
Why?
Why? Yeah. What why? Oh, I love the why. Wait, which why though? Which why are you talking about?
Any why.
Any question where I ask why?
Yes.
Well, it just varies, like, why can't we do that? Why can't we go here? Why can't I do that? Why?
Oh, no, you gotta remember, Trey, that sometimes I just ask, here's a problem with how I type. When I write my assessments, as you may have noticed, I type like I talk. So I'll very often I'll put things like why-ish, things like that in line. But so you're saying when I assign a point value to something where I ask why for?
Yeah, kind of, yeah.
Okay, well, because if I don't assign a point value to, you can ignore the fact that I'm asking why.
Okay.
Sometimes you mean anything, you just focus on what I'm asking point. The reason is, I like, when I can't be there with you, I like the assessment to be a conversation. So I want you to almost be like minorly annoyed and you can hear me talking on your shoulder, like, oh, there's Sean asking me why again. I don't care, Sean, tell me the answer. No, he's not going to do it because that's the way Sean is.
Yeah.
So, any one particular problem that was just like intolerable? Michael?
Well, I got really stuck on 2E because I couldn't...
Which one's that?
It's the second, it's the approximate for pilot view.
Approximate
The short trail. The insane trail that went straight up.
Gotcha. Okay, thank you. So approximating the insane trail on Pilot Butte. Thank you. So this is a throwback a bit to when, how many of you guys did the Burma Road quiz, the grade quiz on Burma Road? Okay, about half of you. I'm guessing that the half that did it have no problem at all with that approximation. I'm actually asking you in that question, and this probably makes perfect sense why it's frustrating, and it ties back to what Shelby asked me about 10 minutes ago. I'm asking you to use a skill that you probably used in 4th grade and haven't used since, which is, if this is something, what is this?
And I forget about it.
I know you do. So I bring it back to the surface because I'm in the ass, and I want you to not lose that skill. It's the same idea when you read a map, and the map has a legend, like 1 inch equals a mile. So what is 3 inches? It's the same thing there. Like, you knew on Pilot Butte this trail was, I think it was a mile, yeah? So if you knew that, you could kind of eyeball what a straight line of that distance would be, and your job was just to compare it to that short distance and approximate. So chances are you're going to have, what were some approximations you guys pulled? How long was that trail? A third?
A third of a mile.
A third? Oh, lots of thirds. Anybody say something different? 2/5? I love that. 0.4. Damn close. Very nice. Others. Anybody say a quarter? Quarter of a mile? No, that's too short. I heard 4/5. So everyone was either a third or 2/5. Excuse me. A third or 2/5 was good. I mean, that's the thing. I don't expect one answer for that. I expect your approximation. I mean, approximation, I know, is one of those skills that is not taught in normal math classes. I know in Math 95, I guarantee you never approximated anything. That is a cardinal crime. You should have been approximating the entire time. I mean, ish. There's so much ish. We're going to see it again today. Constantly again today. I mean, we've been approximating all along. Every time I go like, 48, call it 50. We're approximating. We're approximating so we can then do something with the approximation. Now you can then go back in and argue the approximation and say, okay, the approximation should have been this. Well, that's totally fine. Then you adjust that base number and you do your math off of that base number and everybody's happy-ish. Cool, so 2E was a problem, but not really. Well, we can do it.
Too hard. I thought I had to do some sort of mathematical...
And that in and of itself,
this morning for it.
that in and of itself is that's the fundamental. It's a residual to the American mathematical system, honestly. It's a residual because everybody wants to make it harder because you're in a Math 105 class. You want to make it hard. Just look at a third of a mile. And that's all I was after. That's all I was after. And I know that you're not used to that ish yet. Although I'm kind of making you get used to that as we go. And the more we use random trials like these cards, the more it's going to help. So, anything else? What else gave you like a knot in the stomach? How was the Usain Bolt questions? How were they questions? Very good, good. So do you see what you did with Usain Bolt? A lot of people were like, my God, I'm not doing any math. Well, no, you're not, because I tortured you with that in class. With me and the bike, that's all we did was the math over and over again. And then I said, let's use Excel to do the math and you guys interpret the results. And that's why computers were, well, that's why they're called computers, first of all. That's what they were designed to do, was to do that. So how fast was that guy going at the end of the race?
Like 23.
23 at the end? What was his maximum speed?
27.
Isn't that insane? Isn't that insane? Running. Now imagine a car slightly speeding through your neighborhood. That's Usain Bolt. I mean, think about that. That's staggering. Going 28 on my bike for an extended period of time is work. This dude's running because he runs it for 100 meters, then he stops. Actually, running for 50 and then he stops, starts slowing down. But you see, the whole idea of that was checking the rate of change between 2 points. That was all it ever was. And then that's what the policemen are doing with the hairdryer. They're doing the same thing. Boop, boop, two hits, very close together. Very close together, forming that line just like you guys. Did you notice that when you got the points really close together, it didn't look like 2 points anymore? It looked like 1 point bouncing off the curve. That's the whole point. It becomes what's called a tangent line. Not important to know or memorize. But remember that tangent function we talked about like 3 weeks ago? Same exact relationship. Totally rad. Totally rad. You're instantaneous. Your speedometer speed at that point. If Usain Bolt had a speedometer on his forehead so the world could see how fast he's going, it would be registering 28 miles an hour as you get that big goofy grin at 50 mile, whatever it was, meter 60 or whatever it was at that point. Crazy, huh? Crazy powerful.
He can only sustain that speed for like what?
Like a cheetah.
Like a second.
Like exactly, like a cheetah. Exactly. It's the old discussion of what should you call the fastest animal on Earth? Should it be the cheetah?
Yeah.
Or should it be the flea, who is instantaneous velocity when they leave the ground is actually faster than a cheetah's maximum speed?
But is he considered an animal, the flea?
I think so. It's not a vegetable. Well, it's an insect.
Yeah.
Well, it goes back to the kingdom of Athelia.
Yeah.
It's not. It's either plant or an animal. It's not a plant. Or do you call it a zebra? A zebra which can run 50 miles an hour for 3 days or something like that. It becomes a question of definition. What's the tallest mountain on Earth? It's very often called Mount Everest, because Mount Everest, if you take a GPS to the summit, it's at 29,036 feet or something, which is the highest elevation. But if you measure it from,
There's one like in the bottom of the ocean that's taller.
I think Mauna Loa.
Yeah,
If you actually
yeah.
measure Mauna Loa in Hawaii and go to the bottom of the ocean, it's 13,700 feet from sea level, which is actually about as much elevation as Everest gains from its start. Because it starts at 14,000 feet and then goes to 29. So you figure about 1,000 feet. But when you talk about Mauna Loa, you don't talk about the part underwater often. You should. It's part of the mountain. So it all depends. Trey, the reason I'm saying this, it depends on how you define fastest.
Yeah.
Is it the most quick, instantaneous rate? Do you have to normalize for anything? There's all kinds of questions that become a challenge to ask at that point. But you're right. You only can only sustain it for a split second.
Yeah. Because he decreased quite a bit.
Right. And that's why you have so much precision to worry about in a race like that. Those guys, I mean, it's over in 9.58 seconds, right?
Yeah.
I mean, for him anyway. So in 10 seconds, you've got to micromanage all those things, or just be a brute like he is. He's just a brute. He runs. It's beautiful to watch. Beautiful. I don't mean that in a bad way. It's gorgeous to watch. But it's also staggering to watch. I can barely get off my couch in 10 seconds.
Curtis Johnson, he plays football for the Tennessee Titans.
Okay.
He wanted to race the same bolt because he runs like a 4.140.
Oh, interesting.
So it would be a pretty good race to see the two of them.
A 4.140.
Yeah. Or
If
it
you
might
can
be
extrapolate that out, which I don't think you can. Because it'd be very easy to say he runs a 4.1 second 40 meter.
And he runs it on grass, you know.
Correct, which is harder than a hard surface.
Yeah.
I'm sure he has cleats on. Well, I mean, I'm not sure he has cleats. Oh, he does have cleats on
Most
for
of the
that,
time,
most of the time. So it's tempting for that one to say, okay, he runs a 4.1 second 40 meter. That means he's going to run an 8.2 80 meter. But you can't say that, can you? Because fatigue starts setting in at that sprint. So it would be fun to see. It would be, easy with steroids, easy. It would be fun to see how they stack up though. I mean, Ashton Eaton runs a pretty good 100 himself. Plus he does 9 other things amazingly well. So it's tricky to see. I wonder how they would go with crazy gymnastics. I wonder. Ashton, if you're watching.
Hey, and he's got Tourette's.
He's got Tourette's, so that's even.
Oh, interesting. Interesting.
Wow.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Chris Johnson off Tennessee
Interesting.
Titans.
Interesting. Any favorite questions? Was Usain Bolt like borderline enjoyable to do?
Yeah.
Okay, good, good. I know it's hard to say I like a math problem. I totally get that. I
It
totally
almost
understand.
seemed too easy, because like when I was going through it, I was like, am I doing something wrong?
No. And this is where American math students, you guys have this terrible inferiority complex. The reason it seemed easy was because I hammered the stuff into your head so much in class that you were automatically doing it. It automatically made sense, especially with the units attached to it. So I'm glad it seemed easy. The problem is American math students have this terrible negative view of themselves. If it seems easy, I'm doing it wrong. No, if it seems easy, you're doing it well. But that's what we have 16 years against us with that view. Right, so the point is, I'll try to undo it in the next 5 if I can. I'll see if I have 5 weeks to undo 16 years. We'll see. We'll try. Cool? Any other comments? Concerns? Decent? One more of those at the end. I'm going to put a couple more quizzes up next week. I know we're at the halfway point as far as the term goes, and you've got essentially half of your quizzes in at this point. Most of you are sitting right around 5 or 6 to do, or 5 or 6 done, which is about halfway. I'll start putting more up. You'll have more in class as well, so you'll have more in-class quizzes like last week. I don't think we'll have one today. We'll definitely get one next week. And I'll start putting maybe 1 or 2 up every week. That way you can start. If you find yourself like at week 8, you need to do 3 more. You can grab 3 more at the end and get them done. I also have a good one for grade. I want to put back up. I was going to put it on this exam, and I was like, this exam has enough on it already. I've got one for grade. I've got one for quadratic modeling involving Angry Birds. Fun little game you may have played before. I'm sure you haven't because you're not. Is there a movie?
Yeah, I think it's either just, I know you should take your side.
I will. He's going to have to go. But I mean, I used to play it with him, and I watched the game, and I'm like, oh, I'll be damned. It's mathematics in motion. Because have you ever noticed the paths the birds make?
Yes.
They're perfect parabolas. They actually do a pretty good job of feigning gravity. I'm not sure once the pigs roll off the things if it does a good job, but as far as the paths they go, so I took a screenshot, and I'm like, I'll be freaking damned. It's perfect. So that'll be a quiz probably next week too. I'll have a quadratic quiz up for Angry Birds, and we'll have a grade quiz for my Mackenzie, or maybe Mount Bachelor since it's snowing now. We'll put a Mount Bachelor grade up. I got a bunch of data sets that I've been collecting, and I'll torture you guys with. Should you choose to torture yourselves? It's fun torturing regardless. So, go so far?
Go so far.
Go so far. Good. Now, let's stop again or stop and start again.